My name is Victor Provost. I'm a professional jazz musician, originally from St. John in the U.S. Virgin Islands. I play the steel pan. It's so strange, man. I think I was about 10 or 11 years old, and I had been taking piano lessons for a while as a child, maybe since I was 8 or 9. So a couple years I was taking piano lessons. Even before that, my father would teach me how to play little songs on the piano, just by showing me what notes to push down. And so one day, I was at the St. John School of the Arts, which is basically a 2-room building in Cruz Bay, and I was downstairs practicing some classical piano piece, and I heard this music coming from upstairs. I don't know exactly what made it click. I'm sure I heard steel bands. I used to go carnival every year. But just something about that time, that day, hearing it just above me, made me close that piano and walk upstairs to see what was happening. That was the beginning of my relationship with Steel Unlimited 2 and through the St. John School of the Arts. And it was an intense program. I mean, Mr. Wells, he's one of the greatest steel pan musicians who ever lived. And he gets, he doesn't get as much credit as some of the other pan celebrities like Andy Norell and Boogsy Sharp. But he was an innovator, and he was one of the original members of Neil and Massey All-Stars when it used to be Neil and Massey, down in Trinidad. And he's teaching us, these kids, in St. John in the Virgin Islands, how to play this wonderful instrument. And he was quite the disciplinarian. And that group was incredibly successful. So within 4 years within 5 years of being around, he took a group of kids that have very little experience playing this instrument. And within 3 years, we traveled to Disney World and played at Disney World for the summer, to upstate New York in the Adirondacks. Then the following year, we went to Denmark and Germany in Europe, and then the year after that we went to France and Switzerland. So we went back to Europe. So this group of young people from St. John's, this little tiny island, using this instrument, was able to see half the world, man. This is what it felt like to me. But that experience of traveling and fellowship with the band members and touring, being on a tour bus and driving around Europe, man, it was so amazing that experience is really what started to burn that desire in me to be a professional musician, even at that young age. And I didn't necessarily take the most direct path to becoming a professional musician. I don't know if there is a direct path, but I certainly didn't take the path that's most popular nowadays, which is like study privately while you're in high school, go to a performing arts high school, and then go to college and major in music. I didn't do that. I graduated high school. I could play this instrument, but that's about it. In terms of actually knowing anything about music, I knew very little. So I certainly wasn't ready to enroll in a university program, and I didn't. And so I spent about 10 years after I graduated high school just kind of trying to figure it out, man. Trying to figure out how to play this instrument, how to play this music, going to jam sessions, joining different groups, touring with these different bands, and learning as much as I could on the bandstand and on the street about how to, what does it even mean to play jazz? What does a jazz musician do? And about 10, 12 years later, all of that information started congealing. All of those relationships that I'd made over the course of the last 10 years started bearing fruit. And that, I finally went back and got my degree. But that, all of that information and all of those experiences that I had in that 10-year period slowly built my career to the point that it's at today, where I get to enjoy. I'm blessed to be able to work with the most incredible musicians in the world. teach it at these great universities, teach very talented young musicians, and enjoy the kind of the fruits of my labor, trying to become a professional musician. I always had this idea that like I could either really work hard at promoting myself and telling people how great I am, or I could just practice really hard and get better and make people want to hire me because I was better, because I was good. And I did that. I practiced harder. And again, that just kind of continued to lead to different relationships throughout the course of that 10 years, man. And it eventually led me to finding Dion. I called Dion and said, I want to be in your band. At that point, I had practiced too much and I was ready to promote myself. So I called Dion and I said, I got your number and I really want to play in your band. I'm going to send you some music that I recorded. And I sent it to him and it was awful. It still wasn't good. But he called me back and he said, listen, I'm going to be in your area in about a month. So why don't we get together and just listen to some things and talk and see if we vibe. And we did, and so that became the beginning of not just a musical relationship, but a friendship. So every time we go home, there's always an educational component involved. We typically play a concert. It may be, most of the time it's a public concert, and almost all of the time it's free to the public. So it might be the Jazz in the Park, it might be something on the dock at Waiko. Occasionally, if the entire band is there, if the whole 21st Century Band is there, then we will play a concert at the Reichbold Center. But every time we go home, there's an educational component. There's an educational portion. It's amazing. It's an amazing feeling. To anytime you get to stand in front of a group of children who are interested in music and impart something onto them, whether it's a specific piece of knowledge or whether they can just feel your enthusiasm for the music. That's an incredible feeling in itself. But then the ability to be able to do it at home and give back to the Virgin Islands, man, it's indescribable. I'm an adjunct professor at Mason. This is actually where I came and did my undergrad, and I'll be receiving my master's degree here in about 6 weeks. And I called him and I said, my name is Victor Provost. I play kind of a unique instrument, and I'm really interested in getting a music degree. And Professor James Carroll welcomed me and said, why don't you come down, let's have a conversation, you can play a little bit, and then we'll see where we can take it from there. And within 2 semesters of me being here, I had convinced them to buy a set of steel pans. So this semester, I joined the faculty as an adjunct professor of music, and George Mason University now offers 4 credit to the whole student body, at steel pan ensemble. I don't know what the actual trajectory of my career is going to be here at Mason, but my experience has been very welcoming so far, and I'm looking forward to building, to be able to give people a good idea of where we are, not just geographically, but where we are culturally. And people look at me and they say, well, but you're white. And and I get to explain to them that, yeah, I'm white, but there's an ingrained population of French people in the Virgin Islands that are, that have been there. I'm not one of those people, and my parents are American. They moved to the Virgin Islands in the 60s. They moved to St. John when it was just a big block of bush. But being able to explain the ethnic and the cultural diversity in the VI, and how all of those, how the Dutch culture and English culture and American culture and African culture have all kind of come together to create, things like Quail Bay and you know, the way that the particular way that we think about Carnival as opposed to the way that Trinidad thinks about Carnival, Brazil thinks about Carnival. You know, these are all things that are very specific to St. Thomas, St. John, and St. Croix. So, you know, it's a beautiful feeling, and it's a wonderful experience whenever I get to give somebody a little piece of knowledge about the Virgin Islands and what we are.